to 2026, our first stream of the year at Unity. And today, my name is Manuel Sensili. I'm a senior advocate at Unity and your host for the live streams that you can always find on YouTube and Twitch every Thursday. And this one is the first one of the year. We're a little bit late. We had some technical issues last week. I apologize for that. But we were in the chat answering your comments, and we've seen some of you being there at the rendezvous as always. And we really appreciate you all for being here today for one of our coolest streams, I think, to start the year with, the 6.3 multiplayer template overview. And before I do start introducing our guests, I just wanted to let you know about the plan for the day. So we're going to be talking about this multiplayer template. We'll understand what it is for, where you can download it. It's free, by the way. You can always have that for free. How to create project within it, and then we'll share our screen. We'll be able to, play with it actually with people joining us as different guests so that you can see the multiplayer capabilities in real time, because this is Unity, real-time 3D engine, right? And then we'll talk a little bit about how to play with it, the different things that we need, and how you can extend it, because there's a lot of things in the documentation. We'll be sharing those links so you can understand how to add, for example, a dash ability, a jetpack, a chain lighting gun, and other fun stuff like that for team-based gameplay. And then we'll wrap up at the end. So if you're interested to learn more, stay with us. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our guests today, Esteban and Megh. Thank you for being here, guys, and happy to have you for our first stream of the year.
Hello, everyone. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So excited for this.
First and coolest things. Why don't you introduce yourself very quickly to the audience, and everyone in the chat that has been tagging where they're joining us from, please continue to do so. With people from New York, from Sacramento, Los Angeles, Alexandria, Egypt. Thank you for being here from so late. And I think, Esteban, you can also share that this is also the theme for today. Multiplayer, the community is multiplayer, but we're also all joining from different corners of the world and playing together. So where are you and who are you?
Oh, so hi, everyone. My name is Esteban Maldonado. I am a developer advocate at Unity. In fact, Manu and I worked together in these many cool community engagements or live streams, or sometimes going to visit different communities around the world. But we are advocates are basically very enthusiastic, very passionate geeks that like to dive into Unity. We can script, we can code, we know how to use Unity for the most part. But we like to take that technology and actually show it and share it with the world, inspire folks to see if they would like to also try and make their own games and whatnot. And we also like to meet you. We also like to play your games and see what you are creating. And trust me, as much as we inspire, trust me, the community always inspires me. Always a lot more, especially when I get to see the cool stuff and the cool stories and the cool experiences that all of you are creating.
Yes,
so I see it as a blessing, sincerely. But yeah, that's in a nutshell what I do.
Thank you. And you forgot to tell us, where are you joining us from, Esteban?
Oh, I am joining from my home in San Juan, Puerto Rico right now, literally.
Nice.
I'm usually in Seattle, but I am in San Juan, Puerto Rico until next week. But yes.
Amazing. People from Copenhagen, from Canada, where I'm from as well. I'm based in Montreal right now. What about you, Megh? Who are you? Where are you based in?
Hey, I'm Megh. I am a senior software engineer at Unity, and I worked on the third-person template, and I am in San Francisco right now.
Amazing. So yeah, pretty scattered right now. We're all in different locations, but the magic of the real-time engine will bring us all together in the same space. And we also have Corey from the advocacy team that's joining us remotely from the UK. And we also have Dan, which is also an amazing software developer at Unity that worked also on the template with Megh. So in a few, we'll be able to open the engine and have them all in battles and see who's the best. They said they don't want to compete, but it's the fighting game, so we got to see. So thank you so much. And then without further ado, so what's the plan? Can you tell us maybe what is this multiplayer template? And, it's tied to the 6.3 release. Of course, we had the 6.3 live not too long ago to close the year last year after Unite. But this template comes with it, right? So what are those capabilities? Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
I think that Megh should definitely take that one. He knows the sample inside and out.
Yep.
Sincerely.
Yep. So the idea for this template was to have a starting point for developers to make different sort of prototypes to sort of like get really into like networked gameplay without having to worry too much about the networking aspect of it and making the prototype experience fun and easy to make. So,
Amazing.
yep.
So I also remember you mentioned that there's something that was important about this template because it's foundational to make like games that fall under this category of. I know people say friend slap. I don't think it's a bad term if you think about it in a positive way, although it can sound bad. But it's kind of like those most appealing genres right now, right? Like indie market is filled with some of those games like Peak or RV, where you basically just relies on netcode for game objects to have multiple people in the room playing together. The spatial audio is there, which create this kind of sense of immersion, and just making a simple game or a complex game available with multiple people in it and turning it instantly into a multiplayer success. And so this template, I understand, for people that might have not explored the idea of multiplayer or might be curious about it, is a great place to start, because if you make it work, you basically can just like add those functionality to your games. And we're going to look at this in details today. And I see in the chat someone, Lambo King 8 Able, saying this couldn't have come at a better time for me. So hopefully some of you might have ideas for your games right now that you would like to turn in multiplayer, and this is your solution. So thanks for that, Megh, for working on this. And I cannot wait to actually see what are those templates. And this one, just correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a particular template. It's really for third-person gameplay, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It shows examples to sort of use it to even make different sort of games where you have different perspectives. So it just makes things easier for prototyping.
It's funny. Someone in the chat says only the non-developers think that this is easy. But I feel like you're a software dev thinking it is easy. So does it really make it easier for people, or is there other ways to achieve that?
Yep. So one of the main things about this is we sort of made these core foundations, and we have two different examples of different genres using the same code. You have platformer and shooter. So it makes it really, you can just see different things in it where you have like, we have custom in editor tools to make it easier for just like the dev journey for making different genres of games.
Amazing. We have 3M saying Happy New Year. Hello from Louisiana. Always love to hear about multiplayer tools. Well, Happy New Year to you too. And absolutely, this is exactly the right moment for this. Someone else said that they can't really concentrate on it at the moment because it's an important work meeting. Thank you for joining us from your work meeting. Also, this will be available as a VOD. So if you're joining from Twitch, you got to hand over to our YouTube, where the video will be available at the end of the stream. And if you're on YouTube, you're in the right place. You can scroll back, pause, come back later. We'll still be there. But if you're watching live, that means you can use the chat to ask questions. And as you can tell, I'm answering them in real time. Another comment I want to address. Someone said, basically, congratulations for anyone that's completing a game, whether it's called friend slap or not. And I agree. I think it's a derogatory term, the way that some people use it. But for me, there's not a quality metric that's related to a complexity of a game. And I believe friend slap, the reason why they're popular is because they are bringing back this kind of nostalgia, the couch co-op, the ability to play with your friends. It's something that's really important for people right now in the industry. Myself, I play a lot of friend slap game. I played Peak a lot last year, and we even played internally with our friends at work. So that shows you the success of this game. And so absolutely, and thanks for saying that. And the Bull said, the fact that friend slap is possible is a testament to how far Unity has brought development. Thanks for saying that.
Thank you.
So let's get into it, shall we? It's 10 minutes in. I feel like it's the right moment. People always say, like, oh, those introductions are so long. We just want to see the engine. We do need to kind of warm you guys up a little bit, let people join the chat, make sure we humanize the people that are actually taking the time to share their knowledge. So thank you, Esteban and Megh, for being here. And yeah, let's understand how to make sure that you and your friends and coworkers can play together. Let's show where to find the Unity Cloud project, maybe as a beginning.
Definitely. All right, so here we go. And yeah, before I dive a little bit deeper, I gotta say, finishing a game is quite a skill to dominate as well. I had to add that because finishing a game or any kind of artistic project, I feel it's good. If you finish something, oof, congratulations to you as well. But anyway, with that out of the way, and while still celebrating people's achievements. Okay, here we are in the Unity Hub, where done this 1,000 times. Section where you can install the Unity editor. We want to make sure that got you covered. So you can go ahead and click right here. You'll immediately find the latest Unity 6.3 version. At the moment, it's 3.5. At the time that we're recording this, it is a requirement for you to access this multiplayer template using Unity 6.3. So cool, I already done that ahead of time. Now it will be the time to create a new project. So
Go.
let's go create a new project right
Jutsu
here.
5 developer said, let's go with 3 emojis.
Oh.
And 16 O.
So in fact, we are so we are here. We are creating a multiplayer project, and we search multiplayer, but we don't find our third party, the one that we're going to be showing, right? The new ones. That's because I see. I believe that perhaps there's some logic in the hub. It shows you Unity 6.0 by default, I think. But go ahead, make sure to click Unity 6.3. Search multiplayer again, and we see all of these awesome templates. And in fact, before we actually go into the one that we're going to be showing, I wanted to give a shout out because there are also these mixed reality multiplayer templates and VR multiplayer templates available for free, and that work in a similar way, as in you create a project and you're ready to go. So honestly, please, if anybody's, even though we're going to be talking about third-person gameplay, if anybody's interested in VR or mixed reality in the future, and Manu has actually done lives in the past with the team, and so honestly, that's a very good resource to go where they go over these templates and what you can do.
Actually, thanks for saying that, Esteban, because we had a comment from Mark XYZ on YouTube saying, will these templates be VR compatible? So the ones we're showing today is not made specifically for VR, but as you can see, we have a couple templates specifically for mixed reality, for virtual reality available, and also the other multiplayer FPS template. Today, we're looking into the third-person viewer version of it. So if you're interested in VR, please go and watch our YouTube VOD specifically on those templates. It's a great introduction to the genre. Even if you never made a VR game before and you're thinking of making one, you can start from that video and from those templates.
Actually, specifically, like this one, where it's not just an online template. There's also an offline template ready to go, very easy to use. So
and we go in depth into XRI and how to interact with the different objects in VR. It's a great introduction to virtual reality. Even if you're not planning to make a VR games, playing with that template can teach you a lot about Unity as well.
Definitely. So I'm showing this one as well because this is also one of the 6.3 templates that are available. This one, however, we're not going to be discussing it today. Perhaps maybe in the future. But this one is a multiplayer first-person shooter, and it was actually created in using netcode for entities. So this is a dots template or entity component system. The one that we're going to be showing today, this one right here, multiplayer third-person gameplay. So make sure to choose that one. And here we are. I always like to make sure, and I'd like to make sure to point this out. If you want to go ahead and test this out and be able to play online, you need to create a Unity Cloud project, a cloud project alongside with the editor project. So go ahead, you choose whatever name you want, something like third person multiplayer or something. And as you see here, you can actually create the project either as a new project with a cloud project or locally. But you would definitely want this one third person multiplayer. This cloud project by default. So make sure if you go ahead and select that one, then your cloud project will be automatically created for you. Now, I already created the project ahead of time, so we got it in Unity right here. So when you create your project, and you want to make sure that it's actually tied to a cloud project, you go ahead and make sure you go over here in, nope, not Unity Hub. You go into Editor, into the Edit section, and go into Project Settings. Then go into the Services section, and you'll see the name of your project. It's not. This is the actual cloud project that we're using. That's why it shows us a different name. But the idea is the same. When you see the project, the name of the project that you created, there you can see that it's actually already already tied up to your Unity Cloud project. Uh, so now let me actually go ahead, see if I can show the dashboard over here. So let me bring the little tab open. Manu, do you see?
We see your screen. Yeah.
See, so okay, so you can go ahead and open your browser, and you can see, you will be able to see the third-person multiplayer, or whatever name you give it, and an organization will be given by it's given to you by default. So, and then you'll be able to add members over here, either by email and whatnot, if in case you wanted to try it out with friends or coworkers, and then that's how you add people so that they can go ahead and use your project with you. So with that, if you share this Unity project with a friend or coworker, then they'll be able to play along with you. Okay. So that is accessing the project and actually getting it. I want to hand it over to Megh, because we're going to start playing some scenes now. But Megh is going to show you some of those functionalities that you can test with first locally and then online. So
Perfect. So before we transition, I'm just going to pick up a couple questions and just a quick recap. So what we just saw was how to get started, right? Like from the hub, how to start your project, how to get the template, make sure that the cloud is activated, and where to go in the settings to really understand those different features. And now we're going to actually go into the template itself, which is more than this very simple scene. You'll see people walking around and multiple elements in a second. But just quickly before, I see a couple questions here. So someone said that they would like to see top-down RPG multiplayer future. I believe this is a genre indeed that is underserved, I think, in terms of multiplayer capabilities. Often solo games, I think, that we see a lot in top-down RPG. So point noted, we'll let the team know that this is something that you would like to see. What else? Someone asking if this is going to be referencing netcode for game object or a completely different solution.
No, this is all netcode for game objects and all Unity's authentication service, the relay service, and the lobby service. So all Unity technology.
Perfect. And thank you for the people in the chat also answering each other and giving each other tips. We already passed the 100 messages mark, and it's not even 20 minutes in. So that shows how excited the community is, which means I might not be able to answer every single question, but I just want to quickly shout out the discussions forum at discussion.unity.com. I'll put the link in the chat. If you have any particular questions related to Unity and you would like to receive assistance or post a little thread or a little message on this platform, is the best way. Sorry, I put a typo, so I'm just going to retype it properly. And the idea is that you can also join us on Discord to have real-time answers and community management over there. But continue to ask your question. We'll make sure to answer a few as we go. Thank you, everybody.
Sure. But as you can see, what I'm showing right now is the platformer scene. The one that I was showing is kind of like just an entry point, a main entry point, like a very basic scene. But there's also this 3D platformer scene and a shooter scene that we'll see as well. But Mano, I would like to hand it over to Megh, because he's going to give us the inside, the scoop of what is contained in the sample, but also how it works and how you can extend it. I'm so excited for the part.
Me too. So Megh is going to show us the core scene and go over some of the basics of the template, like ability and modular component pattern and stuff like that. Let's go in.
Yep.
So let's go.
Yep. So when you first make the project, this is the screen that you will come across. There's a README that guides you through the different parts of the project. And this is the link to the tutorials, where you have a documentation that also goes through how everything was structured and how you can even extend it with some good examples. So let's say when you first started, you can just open core README, which will explain what the idea of core is. I think of it as like the base game that you get, and the other folders, platformer and shooter, those are like the DLCs that you see in a game, where it uses the core to make different genres of games. So in core README, it shows you the basic networking scene, which is the one I'm in currently. This is like a local version of it so that you can test locally when developing. So for testing that out, you can go to Windows, multiplayer play mode, then open up a new player that will run locally. And once it is active, you can click start on one, and
so what we're doing that we're spawning a second player, right, Meg? Like sort of like a virtual player.
yep.
That's awesome. Uh, I will say this is one of the this tool has been out for a while, but Manu, when I first tested this, it improved my iteration time. It cut down my iteration time so much. Like, it's awesome.
As much as you can reduce the time between ideation and execution, that's the best designer loop you can get. Also,
Like,
thanks for answering that question from Jitanz. I was just going to speak it out loud, but someone was asking if this template can be used as a basis for a project and will it be updated frequently? The answer is yes and yes.
let's check it out. In the past, you needed to rebuild. You need to build a project and then open the build project and see if your gameplay worked.
Yep. So the basic idea of like this first, like this core player, is that this is what the main player comes with, which is a lot of these modular components, and the idea is to sort of break all of the functionalities down for a third person character, like the movement, the input, the camera, and sort of make it so that you can extend it really easily without modifying them. So you will see the same components on the other characters as well, like platform or shooter. But for them, you don't need to modify the ones like the core ones. You could just extend or remove them. And here's an example of it. Let's say my character has the, you can see core movement that defines how the player moves. And it just does all of the calculations. And then you can make these modular abilities, walk, jump, and then you can just add it to the player. You can see I have a walk, a jump ability. And if I feel like while developing, my character does not need to jump, you can just remove that and the character won't be able to jump now. And that just helps you with the iteration process, because now let's say instead of jump, if I press the space bar, I want the player to roll and dodge. So you can make a new ability for like a roll and dodge, and then you can sort of like connect it. And I think the idea is
It's really plug and play then.
Yes.
Yep. So the idea is that the core movement moves the player by listening to what the movement abilities tell it to do. So now you just need to make these small modular movement abilities. And in a normal player controller, right, you would have like an update loop with, like, if you press the spacebar, jump. If you have a dash ability, you have like dash. Then you do another check for like, oh, let me see if I have stamina. If my ability is not on cooldown and I'm not jumping, then only dash. So then it becomes this sort of like really a lot of code, which is very hard to sort of like modify, add, and stuff. With the ability pattern, you can just make a dash ability which tells how to move in that frame, and a dash add-on where you can just sort of like connect all of the different things of like, oh, I press the mouse key, I press the E input, and then you can sort of like make these modular abilities. And this whole idea of having these different ways to sort of extend is throughout the project, where let's say if you're making a platformer, you would want sort of like things that sort of interact with the player, right? So there's already an interaction system in it. And for every sort of interactable, then you can just look at these modular components. So I have a modular interactable, and this is a jump pad, and you can see it by apply the force effect, apply a VFX, play sound, do a camera shake, and play a timeline for animating the jump pad itself. So it becomes really easy to track down, okay, what happens when. So even for the interaction, you can see like when the character controller hits, then do all of these things. And then you can go into these different effects and sort of like play around with them. And the idea is to sort of like, for like, there's two different parts to this. Let's say this jump pad is made with small modular effects that are reusable, so you could make those. But if you want something that is very specific, where in this jump pad the player follows this arc, the camera zooms in, it plays a really specific effect. It's very time based, so you can just make a really complex one which has a lot of tight parameters to make it look really nice. And you can just mess with it and just sort of make this very complex one. And you can just see like the arc is changing. Like I made custom editor tools for it so that it's visible when testing, when prototyping, on how you want things to move. So
Perfect.
that, yep.
So all those are those modular components that you can choose to activate or deactivate depending on what you need. And for those joining us right now, hello, who's that person that just launched right now? What did I miss, says Belinda from YouTube. So we're looking at the 6.3 multiplayer template overview for third-person gameplay. And right now, this is the core scene that you have in the template when you open it. So we're looking at all these different elements, the character, the weapons, and the different platforms and things that you can do with.
Yep.
Quick question actually for you, Megh. Someone is asking on Twitch, actually is coming from user taken and Dreb40. Is this all in one or server plus client, or is it a separate client and a separate server?
This is using the Netcode for Game Objects newest distributed authority, where the authority is distributed so there is less network load for each client. So you can use it as server client as well, but it's using mostly distributed authority.
Perfect.
One of the things I like to point out is that as people start seeing the code and playing around and seeing this, it's like one thing to point out: a lot of this stuff was made for this template, like a lot of this ability pattern. But I feel that perhaps some of these stuff could actually like, and I would like to hear from the community when they start testing this, if there's any functionality here from this template or perhaps a modification of it that you feel that, hey, perhaps we can actually put some of this as part of the samples SDK, or perhaps some functionality that is so common that perhaps it could be integrated into the netcode for game objects. Feel free to express that, because if we get the chance later, like we can show like some of the stuff I played around with creating this, but it is so much fun to create and add your own weapons and everything. Like,
Yep.
it's so modular.
Because so I think that's the idea that that what the team wanted was, let's say I'm making a weapon. I have two different ways, like sort of like making it modular is how to fire and what happens when you fire. So this is what the modular components are based on, where if someone wants to make a chain lightning weapon, they can just select it and it changes the way it fires. And the good thing about this is that it helps with, let's say if someone in the community makes a script of like their version of a weapon, and if they share it and people can just import that script, everything would just show up because of the editor tools of like this new weapon would show up, and you can easily test it out and do iterations on it. So it just makes this flow very easy of like, okay, someone just gave me this ability, let me pull it in, let me test it out, is it good, and then you can make it.
And I saw that there were even modular pieces for shooting projectiles or scan site shooting, so you can change your weapon, even your weapon behavior. Like,
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. Even like, so there's like a grenade and a bullet. So like for the bullet, it's looking for how it's moving, the movement behavior. So it's a straight line versus a grenade would be like an arc movement. And you can just define different things of like the gravity and everything.
That's super cool. But by the way, Meg, I saw earlier that there were like some pre-made menus. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that? Like start host, start client. That was pretty cool.
Which one?
Oh, the building blocks.
Okay. So the idea is that you can see it in the Unity asset store. We recently released a lot of multiplayer building blocks. The idea is to have all of these different like achievement system, multiplayer session, just these modular components where if you just play into a game, you can connect it via the cloud and someone else around the world can join in and play around. So that is having these multiple sessions. So in the project, there's for every scene, you have the core, which is you would use for testing locally, and then you have the core multiplayer session, which has the multiplayer session integrated. So you can just connect, you can make your own scene, you can see how you can set this up, and then you can just play around with someone else around the world.
So this is the multiplayer session building block. I love that.
Okay. Shall we play online?
Let's do it.
Shall we try it out, Megh?
Yep.
Alrighty.
We have another question from Kage Blink on YouTube. How would this work in VR if I wanted to network player rigs and hands? We have a VOD actually on the YouTube channel specifically for the VR and Emma multiplayer templates, which actually answered that question pretty well. So feel free to look up in our channel and scroll down a little bit. It was done last year, so it's not a very old one. It's actually related to the most recent multiplayer template that we have for virtual reality and mixed reality.
Are you in the core session, Megh?
Yep, just a sec.
Nice.
I just made
and for Dreb40, that's on Twitch. Yes, if you try this, you can actually test it at home with friends the same way that Esteban and Megh are going to be connected. We also have Corey and Dan, which are not on the stream, but that are watching us from Unity, which will be joining us later in the actual game.
Hey, Jack, can we show Megh's screen real quick?
Yep, just a sec.
Joining this session now.
Perfect.
Look at that. I'm the red one right now.
So yellow is probably Corey then.
So one of the cool things is that this worked right out of the bat. Like after sharing the project with your coworker, like whoever you'd like to test it with, if you set up like the Unity Cloud, like I showed at the beginning, like you'll be like, there's no additional work. You can go ahead and start immediately. So
actually, that's a question from Samurai Dev on Twitch. He doesn't know if we answered this already, but are the templates production ready? How would you say that? And also, what would you mean by a production ready, Samurai? Do you mean like ready to publish right away? Because of course, like it's a template, so you would want to swap assets and do stuff like that. But I would say the networking part of it is definitely production ready.
But I think that the sample scene is pretty good. I think shall we try the platformer scene?
Yep.
Nice.
Love that.
It has a lot more stuff.
Lurky Ninja said we're missing the kicking ability. You can add it actually on the documentation. We have a very thorough documentation section on how to add capabilities. We'll show it at the end, how to add a dash and a jetpack and things like that. And you can definitely add a kicking ability. I know it was a joke, but don't hesitate. Please expand on that. I would love to see what people come up with if you can share it back after.
And by the way, one of the cool things is that if anybody's making their own multiplayer games and they would like to borrow some of those building blocks, those assets to put them in their own scene, you can do it because they're just prefabs. And it's part of this notion of like having building blocks in your scene, like building blocks that let you prototype easily and test out functionality. Like that's, because the way that the UI looks right now, when you see, that's not necessarily like production ready final UI, but still like it helps you to kickstart your development. And I mean, you could launch a game with it because there are assets that are added into your project and you can modify, but they they let you play and get started right away. So and and from what I hear, there's a popular game jam happening soon. So perhaps you can use the Sunplay to actually start making your multiplayer journey as well. This could be a good opportunity for you to get started with it. So
Of that, Samurai said a follow-up question to the production ready one, and I said, I mean to grab the leaderboard or matchmaking and adding it to my own game. Yeah, I mean, if anything that's in the template is of your liking, you can definitely easily just adapt it to your game, bring on those components in the same system. The template is really there for you to play around and have this kind of sample that you can test thoroughly and really understand the logic. But anything that you would like to bring on, definitely inspire yourself with it. All the templates at Unity are done for that, by the way. Like the goal is to give you those building blocks, like we said, so that you can then have fun and expand on.
So it started with those UI elements, but at the same time, I believe, Meg, that we're probably gonna we might actually expand that and actually give out some of these gameplay prefabs or other assets. Am I correct on that one?
Yep, that is going to be based on the documentation that's available. So we've sort of implemented them with a lot more sort of like polish around it, like the effects. So you can go through the documentation, or you can just get the Unity package and then just have that.
Now, if I recall, when I was investigating, these little spinners, they actually apply a force. So if I recall correctly, the reason why they work and the reason why they throw you away is because you actually add that little add-on that adds that ability.
Yep.
Oh, that is so cool.
You can just see it here with like add a repulsion force, play the VFX, play sound, and then I'll do a camera shake. And so it's just easily, then you can just go in and then you modify different things, like the different sort of effects that you want.
And could you even, let's say, for example, if you're like, oh, I wanted to play a particle effect or VFX every time that somebody gets knocked around.
Yep. You can just like add or remove it from here and then play a VFX effect, and then it just plays it.
I love that. So we have 4 players right now. Manu, so we have 2 people from San Francisco, Dan and Megh, and Corey joining from the UK, and me from the Caribbean. Cool.
Yep. We can try the shooter scene.
Sure
if you're
thing.
next.
A lot of questions coming in. I apologize if I'm not able to tackle every single one of them, but I just posted the links to our discussions forum, to our Discord, and also to the video for the multiplayer for VR, because I know a lot of you are interested. Kage Blink, hopefully that answers your question. And keep on asking. We'll always look at the chat. But if you don't get the answer that you want, again, the discussions forum, it's the best place to ask, as our team is looking over and always trying to answer everybody.
Can you create the session now so I can try and join in?
Oh,
so
sure.
Can look at that as well.
Okay. No, actually, what was I going to say? Jack, can you still show Megh scene so that people see the other way, the other point of view, which is joining a session?
Oh, I like that.
So Megh created a session, and that's the option where like if you enter a session name, whatever it can be, let's say like. Well, I mean, you're not going to see what I see. You're going to see the name now, but I'm creating the session, and pretty soon, when I join, there we go. Sees my session, and right there, join it, and automatically. And that's the same thing that Dan and Corey will see on their end, and then start shooting. And I'm glad that I'm not the one sharing the screen right now, because I am a horrible shooter player. So, Manu,
you back up now. You have to fight, Esteban.
no, I'm gonna fight. I'm not gonna give up.
You guys need to know, Esteban is our multiplayer god at Unity in the advocacy team. Like most of his presentation have been on flying the previous multiplayer template, which was the spaceship. So the FPS is a different type of game that we're seeing
Exactly.
skills in real time now.
So that's when you say, "Oh, we're gonna compete and we're gonna find out who's the best." And it's like,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm gonna give it my best, but it ain't gonna be me.
Yeah. I have two questions for you guys, and feel free to answer if you can. From Tigris T on YouTube, do these templates work on both distributed authority and without, the same way as the XR multiplayer demo, for example?
Ooh, that's a
Uh,
good question.
yes, that is the idea behind it. Like distributed authority and the API around it makes it really easy to sort of have that where it checks for the owner for a lot of the different networking cases, and based on that, sort of like if it's server client, the owner could also be the server. So it works.
Sweet.
There might be some places where you might need to add some more logic, but it works.
Perfect. Another question from Few Cool Things. What are the limits of this shooting template? How much players can connect together? 100? And so we were told there's no hard limit. So test it out, see how much you can pop on the scene.
But a lot of the testing and just like around it is, I'd say 4 players is a good place. But depending on your game, you might need to, you might do more or less. That depends.
Exactly. Another question from Holdenbergen. Does this template have a forum section where people can talk about and maybe share code, add-ons, and things like that?
There is a discussion post around it.
There you go. So if you go on a discussions forum, you'll be able, the link is in the chat again. If you scroll back a little bit, I'll post it a little bit later. Bottlehead Games. Do these work as a cross-platform like web, mobile, PC?
We have not done a lot of testing around that. The whole idea around this template itself is around creating prototypes and testing. So sort of like in the early phase of making a game, you would sort of use this to sort of test out your ideas and sort of make these games.
Perfect. A lot of people saying, can't wait to put my hands on this. This looks awesome. Tigris says, thank you for answering my question. Can't wait to try out the template. Where can we find the multiplayer spaceship template, Esteban? At Tigris?
Oh no, that was. Are you talking about like that old game, the Galactic Kittens? From way
No,
back?
you know the previous template, the one you did in Abu Dhabi and in a couple locations with the flying ship with Mega City.
The 2D. That was a Mega City sample. That one's still available now. That particular branch, or I mean, it's probably outdated.
Probably old. Yeah.
But there is a 2D multiplayer template that one is available and publicly available, and I could find the link later real quick. But right now I need to defend myself. I'm getting beat.
Yeah.
But by the way, one thing to note is that you're probably seeing, people are probably noticing that there are some notifications like somebody respawned or somebody got their butt kicked. Even that is a piece of a particular. Even that is an added module that you can add. That's one thing that I found out when I was so if somebody.
I can.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I can just show it in a live demo where. So this is a demo scene based on the tutorials that are here, where it explains you different parts of the project, how to create a notification, how to create different weapons, and then you can extend to create really specific weapons. And this is just a demo showing that. So let's say I have this interaction where it sort of it does player timeline modifier stat, which is restore the fuel for player and player VFX. I can just do send notification event and then add it, and then I can just define, like, I want to include the network player name that you get. So let's say restore fuel, and so now if I play the scene,
Loading some
restore
shaders.
fuel. Yep.
I like that color.
So yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
And we're playing in the editor, which is pretty cool. Someone said earlier, it's so cool to see the multiplayer in the editor. I agree.
That is a very good point. And I believe that Corey and Dan as well.
Yep.
So that's amazing.
Esteban, maybe you know the answer. Hello World, the multiplayer template is made with game object or with dots?
This one that we're seeing is game objects. The one with the first person shooter that is with dots.
Amazing.
Yeah, and the VR one and the mixed reality one also game objects and netcode for game objects as well. So the same SDK. So whatever you learn by making something with this template, a lot of those lessons you'll be able to carry it over to other templates that you use. And but and by the so Meg, like I see that you're every time you interact with one of these teleports, you actually change your size. Is this included in the template, or did you learn it by adding it from the documentation section?
Yeah, it is in the documentation
Hmm.
where you can do sort of like it explains how to make this and then you can just add it to the project and you can just make different things like even assigning players to a different team. You can just see like you have a team blue and red. There's chain lightning weapon, which I was just showing. So there's a lot of different things that you can just add and remove.
Yes, Jen Slavic, like Esteban just said, the dots multiplayer template is the FPS one. You can find it in the hub as well.
6.3. Now, one question I gotta throw you gotta throw your way, Meg, because I would like for you to share like because this documentation a lot of people will find, and one of the most positive feedback that I saw is that it felt like a Unity Learn tutorial, like it was that inspiring, it was that cool. Like, can you share with us a little bit of your inspiration for making it that way?
Yep. So the idea was that uh, the whole process is it sort of gets you acclimatized with the idea of like what the project is, with like the foundation and sort of making your own genres for games or whatever game you want. It explains the main pattern that is used in the project, and then sort of it builds upon it by teaching you stuff where like the first game creating gameplay part in this part you don't do any coding. It is just based on what is already in the project. You see all the different editor tools and just once you get an idea about how everything works, like how about creating a new weapon and everything, then you can sort of extend it to see how different things connect to make complicated examples where you have a dash ability that once you add, you can add it to like with a new custom input to it, and then you can
Actually,
make it.
Megh, very quickly at the bottom of your screen, there's a hide little bar if you can hit it. Thanks, Jack.
Uh,
25 minutes later, but we did it.
Yep. So this is like just even the prototyping part of it. It's just 3 cubes to make a jetpack, and then you can just do different things. Create like there's a lot of systems in the project, and I thought this was the best way to sort of give an overview of what everything is. Like there's a stat system, there's input, interaction, and a few more things.
Perfect.
Manu, can I share can I share my screen real quick to show what I learned from Meg's awesome documentation?
Let's
Okay.
see.
All right. So people, when I say I made this, I literally was working on this like last night and just seeing what I could learn in basically a day or few hours, from documentation. So first of all you might notice that there's like a little oh, sorry about that. You see rifle, and then if I go, you can cycle between the weapons, and there's a rifle underscore food. Why the heck would a gun be named like that? And that's because when you go ahead and shoot, it spawned pizzas. And grab some of these assets from our net check game jam that we did years ago. It was a food-based game. So all of these, so this weapon I actually created, I followed the tutorial, and I didn't do any coding for this. Like, in fact, this particular weapon, when you go ahead and spawn your pizza, you pick it up, place that effect, and it actually heals heals your health as well, and no coding whatsoever. How the heck does this work? So let me actually go ahead and zoom it. So this is like the silliest, kind of like the silliest thing I could think of at the moment. So if we go over here into our shooter, we have, yeah, I'm showing correctly. We have prefabs, and there are projectiles. And as you can see here, we have bullet food. All right. So there we go. The only thing I added was the only thing well, not the only thing that I did, but I went ahead and added this like pizza object, just for the heck of it, just for the heck of it. And
What if I don't like pepperoni?
oh no,
I'm kidding. I love them. I love
you
them.
got an issue. Now we got issues. No, I'm kidding. So one of the cool things is that, check it out. Like when you go ahead, go into this modular projectile. This is the script that's already added into the template itself. So I didn't create this. This is already there. And the cool thing is that you can go ahead and choose your movement. So you could choose like arc movement, straight line movement. I didn't implement that. It was already there. What kind of stuff do you want to do? Do you want to spawn interactable, or do you want an explosive effect? I went ahead and did that. Oh, and what is it? And here we go. By adding this, it actually adds these components. Like, oh, okay, straight line movement, but how far? Do you want to do an initial force and other settings and whatnot? So all of these are added for you automatically when you like add that particular effect to the projectile. And then spawn interactable. What is it that I want to spawn? All right, a pizza pickup. And what the heck is a pizza pickup? Let me see if it changed. So it is a modular interactable. Again, script that's part of the gameplay. And I can go ahead and add modular effects. Like if I don't want it to play the VFX, I just hit remove and that's it. But I would like to keep that. And then modify stat effect. What the heck is that? Well, that means that when I actually interact with this, I can modify a particular stat of the player. And if we go over here into the modify stat effect, which gets added automatically, I found out, and it's so cool. You type in health and modification amount 5, and if I want the pizza to like give you like a stomach ache or something, I could put it in -5, and now it's a damage pizza, and it gives you damage instead of health for some reason. And it's that, and I haven't touched any code whatsoever, and that's the pizza pickup that gets instantiated. And
Jack told you, Esteban, how do you dare damage a pizza?
How do I damage it? No, that's the thing. The pizza damages you. The pizza's perfect. Like, oh man. So there's another thing that I did, and this one I literally did it today, straight up. So what if there's something that fails or something? I mean, that's on me. That's just that's not part of the template. That's just me messing around. So if we go here into the platformer scene, this is where I was before, and see there's another pizza. As you can see, there's a theme in my diet. But as you can see, there's this little platformer, this thing that has the animation curve that Megh showed earlier, right? But there's this other little platform that wasn't here before, and there's a tube for some reason. Well, that, people, is a spline, and that is a spline with a spline container with a spline extrude component, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. So what is it that it does? We saw that this one goes ahead, plays an animation, and a very cool landing effect and everything. Let me go ahead and start again. And I should take this opportunity to double click to show you a little bit better. Now let's go into the other one. So trigger, and like Sonic, it just rides the spline. This is what I found out. It sometimes happens that I don't know what it is in my logic that sometimes it gets stuck in the
It's a feature, not a bug.
Fly mode, but there we go. And the cool thing is I can still fly. I can still jump and everything.
Yeah.
Pick up the pizza. Oh, and check it out. There's a notification. I added the notification to the pizza pickup, and everybody knows that I picked up a pizza just for the heck of it. Why not?
Just like that, it's easy to see how Esteban were able to add a couple functionalities, and again without code, which is quite impressive. Just using the modular system.
I will say the spline I did modify in code. This is the one that I actually need to deal a little bit with code. But the pizza notification, the pizza pickup, the VFX, the instantiate the pizza, none of that was code. None of that. The only
Gotcha.
thing was writing the little tube. Let's go ahead and actually, I wanted to show.
Linux Enable on Twitch said, Spline are awesome. You can make smooth animations, smooth movements, generate roads, etc. I love them.
So, where's the? It was platform environment. Yeah, there we go. I can click on an object in the scene view. Who knew? There we go. So I'm here, and I modify. So what I did is that I copied the jump pad, the one that Megh showed, and here's the one with the spline. Um, so here's my little spline object. But before that, I wanted to show uh, like some of the difference. So we have this class modular interactable, also part of the also part of the template. But see, there's a new one here, an artifact called jump spline artifact. That doesn't exist. It doesn't come with the template. That one I created my own. So what I did is I took a copy of the arc jump, and I copied it and made my own effect. I modified the code.
So you
So
didn't start from scratch. Even in this case, you use one of the existing effect from the template to expand on.
exactly. And the thing is that even though the code file, they're like when people see this, like some files might be a little bit big, but there's a lot of comments to help you understand what is it that's going on, and you can easily and a lot of the functionalities are separated into their own functions. So if you don't want something like let's calculate let's calculate the direction in this frame, you want it to substitute with something else when you just take away that code and write another function with the same like input and output, right? So, but here I use a spline container instead of the animation curve. So technically, I can take this animation arc curve away, but that's just this is not production code at all. This is just me playing, and this is like game jam level quality of code. So now I am actually in the spline container, and what I did is that I actually added this little spline, a spline container, and then after that you can add this spline extrude component, which what it actually does is that actually like renders a particular mesh along all of the geometry, and for example, I can go ahead and like increase the radius of this. Can be like a little tube like I had it before, or this giant thing. And if I wanted to modify the spline itself, I can go over here into the scene, change the context, and now I am in the spline editor. Let's go into the spline and
Sweet.
yeah, it's really fun to deal with. So honestly, there we go. You can change the path a little bit. Let me set it to how it was. So I think it was 0.03, like this little tube. I saved the scene. There we go. Play it again.
I love to see that in real time because it shows also your logic in how you think about it, but also how iterative it is between your idea to execution to testing. It's amazing that you're able to do that this way.
Pick up the pizza, obviously, and then let's see if it worked. Oh yeah, sweet, nice. There we go. All I'm doing in the script is just basically, depending on how long the animation is. Again, a feature that was included in the template script. I just borrow some of that functionality, and if I wanted this to last an hour, I don't know why, but if I wanted it to last an hour, it'll actually take an hour.
Yeah.
Get to one point to another.
On Twitch, we have 2 comments from Samurai Dev saying, "This looks sweet with multiple E. I will definitely add it to my game." And Linux Enable saying, "I also love these new modular editor tools that change my workflow so well, mostly when working with ProBuilder." Very well said.
Heck yeah.
Also, we had a couple conversations back and forth between a few users on YouTube. I think they're referring to how would you do spawn points, custom spawn points in the concept of MMORPGs and things like that. I'm not sure it was very related to this stream in particular, so I suggested them to go on discussions. But I would love to see people continuing this conversation after. Like, sure, I would love for you to continue to chat on YouTube, but just so that we don't lose your awesome ideas and questions, definitely put a thread on discussions forum. We can share it internally. It remains active. Asynchronously as well after the stream. So this is the best place to ask those questions. And thank you for commenting.
I will say though, Megh, what would you suggest if somebody wanted to take some of these pieces like spawn points, these kind of like modular weapons, and they wanted to say like add a terrain and make like a multiplayer terrain or something like that to sort of like mimic like an MMO? Like, what would you recommend?
So you could just start from like the way the different folders are like organized. Let's say you have core, that is the main thing that you need, and then just using that you can add a terrain. And for your custom spawn point logic, there is a script called Game Manager which handles all of that. So you could add different logic for yep, that's the prefab. Yeah, you can add different logic for how and when people respawn and different things.
Interesting. So interesting. So basically, I can take a copy of this core scene and just swap out the environment, which is just the
Yep.
plane, and then move
Yeah.
the spawn points around and
Yep.
just start adding whatever geometry, forests, and everything, and I can have
Yep.
my own kind of like jungle explorer or combat
Yep.
game.
The flow of like just understanding the project and even sort of like learning how to build your own. I think it's sort of like once you look at the core player, you could see sort of like the basic requirements for making the character move. Then you look at the platformer player, then you see like small additions to it. And
Yeah.
for a much more complex one, you could see the shooter player, which has its own systems with its own modular components. So you can also make your own that also follow this, so that you can also like sort of expand upon it.
That is so cool. And by the way, like I see that. So you have your game manager, and so basically every spawn point that you add into your scene, you need to make sure to add it into this list in order for your game manager to work and
Yeah.
pick up. Okay, that's
Yeah, so it's a round robin sort of spawning right now. So it's like
yeah.
0 to tell the number of spawn points you have.
One thing that I'm really curious from even from a developer point of view, because I see that even in the core, and honestly, if you feel like you need to like share your screen again to explain this, feel free. But let's say for core, I have this folder called game events, right? And there are many game events, but they're stored as asset files. Now, I don't remember the last time I seen something like this. Like, I wanted to ask you, like, any particular reason? I like this because it's very event driven, and people can take advantage of these many events. And I see that the core one has all the shared ones, and then the platformer, for example, has some platformer specific events. That's really cool. But like, I guess my question is like, why the decision of making these game events as scriptable objects that you can instantiate and everything, and yeah, like
Yep. So
why, and then how it helps, yeah.
yeah, so there's two main parts to it. One is sort of like making it so that there's not a lot of dependencies everywhere. Like if you look at the like if you search for free look, there's a camera which has if you just search in the project for free look.
Actually, would you like to share your screen again?
Yeah, I can just do that.
Yeah. Hey, Jack, can we share Meg's screen again?
It's coming back in a second. There we go.
Yep.
Exactly,
So I think
exactly 1 second.
yeah, there's multiple places where sort of like I have this player, I want to know all of the input events that it raises. So you can just see different input events that this handles. You can just have everything behind this one script. Plus, for networking, we can add a lot more logic to it, where all of these events will make sure that it raises only for the local player. You can do that for, let's say, multiplayer. If you add like a pause menu and you don't do it behind some of the checks, you can raise it so that everyone listens. So if one person presses pause, everyone can listen. And sort of you can do that. That is one reason. And the other is to reduce some of the dependencies. Let's say the camera, it is a Cinemachine camera, it has a custom extension. So to make sort of like a really specific effect where the camera moves in a certain way, things happen, you can sort of like listen to different events, and it's not tied to like, okay, this class is needed or something. It's just listening for the event. And so like the jump arc that you saw in one of the platformer scenes, you can just listen to that event and then sort of like change the FOV and do a lot more things. So there's a lot of different places where it's used to sort of like just sort of decouple a lot of the programming so that iteration is easier because it is a prototyping kit.
So, so when I showed the spline and the character moving along the spline, I used the same. I used the same arc, a jump arc event. So I assume that the best practice would have been to on jump arc spline event. I assume,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So that just also depends of like what else is listening to it.
Okay.
So you can, if it's only the camera listening to it, and if you want the same sort of like zoom in effect, then you can just keep it.
Yeah. And I guess a question: is there functionality? So these events, correct me if I'm wrong, are they global and people need to like look and register and listen to the event, or
Yeah, so there's a few places to understand that. So like for the health itself, right? So health and like these events as well, you can define how it raises, if it's global, if it's local. So the stat system is global, but you do have the option to like what sort of things are global. Like, uh, do I want to broadcast like if my health has changed, or do I want to broadcast if my health is zero, right? So those two things are important in a multiplayer setting where everyone needs to listen to like if other player got eliminated. So
yeah?
you can raise it for both. For something like stamina, you can just raise on cheat. So you can just define if you want it to be shared globally or not, and then you can also do some checks in the script itself for the inputs. If you How do you want to handle it? So it's just like the your
Sweet.
choice on what you want.
I see. That's really cool.
We have a quick question in the chat from Tamiro4234 on YouTube. Hello there. How does this template relate to the Unity building blocks? I still haven't dived into the building blocks yet.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Go ahead, Meg.
Yep. So the building blocks is for adding the multiplayer features that we have, multiplayer session, achievements, leaderboards. So in the project, you can just see in every test scene folder, there's one which is for local testing, and the other one that uses the multiplayer building blocks that's in the asset store to sort of have the sort of like connect via cloud to other players, and then you can just test it out in real time.
There we go.
And one of the and for the person that joined, these assets are actually part of your project, and you can go ahead and use them, modify them, add your own styling, or borrow some of the core functionality, and just but you can basically keep them as is, and even launch your game with it if you decide. But they are free, and they get added right away. Oh man.
Perfect.
Yes.
And for people that are only joining us now, don't worry. This is live, but the VOD will be available on our YouTube channel after, so you're not missing anything. You're just late to the live, and it's okay.
And I hope to see if some people use this for a global game jam. Perhaps that'd be awesome.
Thanks for mentioning that. Actually, I was about to say it at the end, but we have Global Game Jam happening very soon, which is our yearly global game jam event that's done everywhere in the world, and Unity always try to sponsor it. We have it, I think, again in Montreal this year. I participated to the one last year in Montreal. So we're hosting Global Game Jam in our building, in our office. So if you're in Montreal, pass by. You'll get snacks and support and people around that can help you, or you can join a team and so on. But yeah, we did a webinar, I think, with the official Global Game Jam president and CEO last Monday, or no, last Tuesday, in which we shared some of the tips to get started, and also our, I forgot the name, I think it's modifier, differentiator, the thing that you need to kind of follow if you want to add complexity for the Game Jam, which is cubes. And so if you're interested to use this template for your game, it's absolutely a great idea to start with this template, since you get so many good building blocks.
Yes.
Perfect. So if anyone has any last minute question, please feel free to ask in the chat. If not, it's never too late. You can always go on discussions forum after. But I think we're about to wrap up a bit sooner than previously expected. but this proves that we went through all of the good content and the core of it. So thank you so much, Esteban and Megh, for joining us for that. Any last words or anything else you would like to share with the people?
Go in. I would say if anybody's excited, I would recommend definitely check this if you want to use Unity for Global Game Jam, and if you want to make a multiplayer game. Honestly, this one is quite solid. Solid point. Like I with the newest multiplayer tech, I already thought that netcode for game objects and with the two virtual players and the immediate online play, like it was already like
Mhm.
game jam ready. But this is even better. This is like even friendlier for game jam, because if somebody wanted to make a shooter or a platformer, like, or just even an online like kind of walking simulator or something, like they could they basically have all the technology pre-done, and you just by creating your project you already have a solid starting point. So yep, I definitely highly encourage the community to try it out. But other than that, I don't know, have fun. That's the best in the end.
That. What about you, Meg?
Yep. So it's really fun to see people test it out and to see what they make. I've seen like what Esteban made and other people internally have made. It's fun to see. So it would be like fun to see what the community builds around it with this.
Love that. And we have the bull saying, I'm looking forward to firing this up. Tamero4234 saying, I'll take a good look at this project soon. And a couple of people saying, I'll be rewatching this. I have a day job. Gabe Dev is just for fun. And that is okay. Whether it's your full time job or your hobby, we're here for you. And everybody's welcome in this community. That's why we continue to do those live streams. So we'll give a big shout out to the multiplayer team, to Dan and Corey also that joined us remotely, and Megh and Esteban that took their time to come and share with us. Really appreciate your time, guys, and thank you for being here and to continue to work behind the scenes for the community. And we'll have you again on the live, I think, because this was really cool and I had a good time and I learned a ton. So thank you again, and we'll wrap up the stream very quickly right now with a couple important notes. So in the chat, I just shared the link to the documentation page. Please take the time to look at it, to click on it, because it contains all of the information we've shared today and more, including how to extend and expand from this base multiplayer template. So if you want to add things like the dash ability, the jetpack, everything we showed you, it's explained in details. And those particular extended ability we show you, like the chain lighting gun, there is a specific page in the documentation so that you can also add it yourself when you try it out. So please take the time, click on the link. It will also be in the description if you watch this later as a VOD. And a couple more important points. Discord, this is the place to be for real-time chat with us outside of YouTube, of course, and Twitch. And the discussions forum for everything asynchronously, more thorough, making sure some people answer your questions. So if you have feedback for Unity, if there's something that's not working or that you need, or you want to tell us that you want to see, this is the best place to go. All right. So thank you for that. And always comment on YouTube if you have just a desire to just say what you think. And yeah, the next appointment is set for next Thursday. So on every Thursday this year, we're going to try to have a live stream on YouTube and Twitch. So this is the first of the year. The next one is on the 22nd today, 29 for the next one. And it's actually going to be a very exciting one called VFX Clocked and Loaded. If you know about our previous host, Jackson Stevens, he started this kind of series of event where basically we would invite developers from Unity, showcasing you a very important feature and try to showcase it in 10 minutes. Like how much can you do in just 10 minutes? And we do it real time during the stream. And then the person would have prepped a version of it that they spent an hour on and then a day on. So you can see the kind of difference. And the more time you spend on the feature, how far can you push the engine? So we're going to continue this series in honor of Jackson. We're starting with VFX Clocked and Loaded next Thursday. Again, 12 p.m. EST, still the same time. And we'll welcome you from every time zone, as always. And yeah, what else do we have coming? We have Global Game Jam, like I said, at the end of January. And then GDC is coming soon. So if you're joining us at GDC, I would love to also know. Let us know in the chat. And thank you again. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being always present and for continuing to learn and share with each other. Unity is about community. As we always say, it's in the name. I'm Manuel Sensidi, your host and advocate, and I appreciate you. And I hope you have a great beginning of 2026 and more gaming. See you soon.